Hi there, GMC owners. Today in your 2018 GMC Sierra 1500, we're going to be taking a look at and showing you how to install Roadmaster's base plate. And this is what our base plate looks like when it's installed. It replaces your factory tow hooks and it pokes out right through here. So I like the design of it. It's actually really easy to install since it just goes where your tow hooks go. And we can minimize the distance here that they stick out when we're not using it for flat towing. It's currently in its normal state where you'd hook your tow bar up, hook it into a flat tow, but when you're gonna be driving this around town or just like normal when you're not on vacation, we can pull the pin here, the pin and the clip, pull both of those, and then the arm just slides right out of there. And now we've minimized that distance that it sticks out. And I really like it like this for when I'm storing it, driving it at home, stuff like that. Because you can see it doesn't really stick out past the license plate even. So if you park it in your garage, one, this could make the difference between it fitting and not fitting in your garage. And if it does fit in your garage, sometimes you want to walk across the front where you can easily get by it, versus if it was in the normal tow position here, you got that chance of slamming your shins on there, so that's no fun. So I do like that you can get a nice cleaner look that's better for storage when you're not using it. We can then just reinsert these when we're ready to hook up. The arms that insert in here are your standard Roadmaster arms as far as the connection side here. This is a little bit different than most of your base plates. Usually they go in and they twist to lock in. This one uses a more traditional like hitch pin style. But here on the front, it is still the same Roadmaster connection point here in the front. So this will connect to any Roadmaster tow bar. And if you have a different manufacturer's tow bar, we do have adapters available here at etrailer, so you can get those ends swapped over to one that works with a Roadmaster base plate. The base plate has a black powder coat finish on it to protect it against rust and corrosion, so you can have a nice look to it for many years to come. And it does blend well with our vehicle, kind of making it look like it's supposed to be there. I've got some additional accessories you might want to consider when flat towing your vehicle. One is you may or may not need a high-low adapter, which is for your motor home to adjust the heights of its hitch to make it roughly the same as what your base plate is here, because we want our tow bar to be as level as possible when pulling. To determine if you need a high-low adapter, you'll want to check the difference between the height of your hitch at the center and the height of the base plate at center. This base plate measures about 18 inches from the ground to the center. So if yours is 18 inches on your hitch on your motorhome, you don't need one. And the rule is about plus or minus 3 inches. So maybe if you're at 20 inches on your motorhome, you're still fine. But if you're 22 or 24 inches on your motorhome, you might need to get something to drop it down. Or the other way direction, if your motorhome is maybe only at like 13 or 14, you might need a little something to step it up to get you within that plus or minus 3 range. Also, since these are traditional kind of style pin and clips here, they're just like a 5/8 inch pin and clip. You can replace these with locking ones to protect your investment. Tow bars from Roadmaster also secure to your hitch with a 5/8 inch hitch pin and clip, so you can get one for that as well to fully lock your motorhome and vehicle together to ensure that nothing's going to roll away from you. So now we're going to hook up our tow bar. We're going to start by getting it hooked up to the motorhome here. If you needed a high-low, you'll want to put that in first, put it in the appropriate position. On ours, we need a rise to make it match the base plate on our truck, so we're going to slide that in. We'll then secure it with a hitch pin and clip. After we get this secured, we'll then take our tow bar and we're going to slide that into place. Grab our tow bar here, slide it in. We're going to line up the hole in the tow bar with the hole in our high-low adapter. We'll then take the pin and clip, slide it through, and then we'll secure it with the clip on the other side. So now that we've got that installed, before we hook it up to the tow bar, I was going to show you the storage position that this offers here on the Blackhawk. So if we take it and just raise it up, we will have to straighten it out a little bit because it comes kind of shipped a little crooked in your box to make it fit. So we're putting it back straight. This is where kind of in the position it would be in if you just unhooked from your vehicle. And you can see the head of this bolt here is going to line up with the lever there, and it just clips right into it. Then you can just choose either the left passenger or driver's side. Just push it off to one, because if you don't, it will, as you're driving down the road, it'll pick a side. And you can just wrap your cables around it. If you got your safety chains as well, we can attach those and you can wrap those around this. And we also have storage bags available here at etrailer, so you can secure all that stuff together to keep it from dragging on the road. When you are ready to hook up though, we're going to get ready to take it out of storage position here. We'll take our tow bar push this lever back, we'll lift it up and then drop it down. We'll then give our tow bar a spread here. We may need to move our vehicle. We might be a little bit too far away. We'll just give a quick test here to see. Probably looking like we are a little too far away. Yeah, see, the arm's not quite gonna reach, so we'll pull the vehicle up a little. If you pull your arm out like this, it's gonna lock into place to get it to go back in. Just pull that lever and it will, it'll release it. So we're gonna pull up just a little bit. We'll now take our pins here, open these up. They kind of come wrapped up like this when you get them in your kit, so you will have to kind of unwind it a little. There you go. And then we can lift our tow bar up. If one of those arms locks in, you might have to pull it back in on you. We'll bring this arm out, extend it until it lines up with the hole. From the outside towards the inside, we'll push our pin through. There's a hole in the end there. That lines up with this little plate here on your base plate as well. So then we'll drop this pin down through both and snap it to lock it in place. We'll then just do the same thing over here with this arm. At this point now, we just need to hook up the rest of your connections, which typically includes your diode wiring connector, make sure we get that plugged into both sides here. Our safety chains, and when hooking up your safety chains, you want to make sure you cross those. So I'm going to hook this one here onto the driver's side on the vehicle. This is going to then stretch over and hook to the passenger side on our motorhome. And we'll do the same thing here on this side. Hook it here, cross it to go to the other side, and attach on over here. Then you can hook up your supplemental braking system. So you're going to have your breakaway switch here. In most cases, to attach this, you'll have to run it through the loop, and actually our loops on our base plate there are a little bit too small to accommodate both the safety chain and the breakaway switch. These safety chains did come with some quick links though, because they know the ends are pretty large and sometimes your hitch just doesn't have a big enough opening for them, so they come with these. So we'll be using one of them here and slide this right on there just like that, and we can just tighten this down since we got a carabiner for the other end of our breakaway switch cable. So we'll just tighten that, bring this over and clip it onto there. And the braking system we're using today is Demco's Air Force One, so it does have another connection we have to make for the air brakes, so we're going to make sure we plug this in as well. Most of the other braking systems don't have this extra connection, but if you got air brakes, the Air Force One is the top pick for me as far as braking systems go. It really is a great system. We'll begin our installation here at the front of the vehicle. We're going to remove the cover right here across the front. So once you pop your hood, you'll see this black plastic piece right here. There's 12 push pins that hold it going all the way around, so there's quite a few of those there. To remove these guys, you can either use a trim panel tool or a flat bladed screwdriver. If we look at our pin here, we can see that there's a little kind of slot cut out right there. That's to allow you to put your tool in there, and then you can pop up the center of the head. With these particular styles, I like to start with the screwdriver first, just to pop it up a little bit to make my trim panel tool to get in there a little bit easier. And then we can use the trim panel tool to pull it up the rest of the way. I'm just going to repeat this on the remaining clips to get all these removed. After removing all the pins, the cover just simply lifts off and we can set it aside where it won't get damaged. Underneath the panel we just removed, it's going to reveal 4 fasteners that are attaching our grille to the front of the vehicle here. We'll use a 10mm socket to remove these 4 bolts. We're now over on the driver's side wheel well, and the trim piece that's located here above the wheel, we'll need to pop it out to access a fastener underneath of it. So the 2 screws here towards the front, they're Torx head. We're going to use a T15 to get these removed. And you should just make a little mental note, the one with the larger washer goes here. You can also use the discoloration on the plastic to help you remember which fastener goes into which location. After we get both of those removed, we're just going to gently pull out on our trim piece like that. Now when you go to pull this out, one of the things you might have is this piece here might stay behind. It's just attached to this trim piece using these sticky pads, and this actually has to come out. We need it to be out with it. So we're going to use our trim tool to just get behind the pins there and just pop these 2 out of here. All right, and then after we get that removed there, if we go straight up right here, we're going to have a 7mm fastener that we're going to need to remove. So we're going to see if we can't get this up in here. We may need a smaller tool. It's kind of tight. Looks like we were able to get on it there. Get that out of there. And then we're going to head over to the other side of the vehicle and get these same components removed. So we're now underneath the vehicle, fairly towards the center, maybe slightly towards the driver's side, and we're looking straight up just behind the front bumper here. When we look up into this area behind the front bumper, we'll see that we've got some clips here that holds the trim piece off that runs across the front of the vehicle. So here's the pins here, the little clips. When we go to pull this piece out, we'll want to either push up on the blue tab there or pull down on the black tab to allow it to slide out of there when we go to pull the trim piece off. So we're going to head out and pull this trim piece off now, but just kind of, it's going to be hard to see both sides, me pulling it off and me pulling on these tabs, but this is what I'm going to be doing with one hand, kind of reaching under here and releasing these as I'm pulling it out. So now we're going to start peeling this trim piece off here in the front. So we're just getting our hands behind it and we're just pulling outward. You do have to pull pretty hard to get it to pop. There we go. And we're just going to be working our way towards the middle, kind of getting this released. And as we're pulling this off and working it down, this is the thing I was going to show you right here. You can see that's a little black tab there. So we're going to take a trim tool or a screwdriver and push down on that little black tab. Just like that. And that'll allow that to pop off. So those clips that we have underneath that we kind of pointed out to you, you actually have one that's located right here. You can't get to it from the bottom, can't get to it from the side, but when you're peeling this thing off, what I found is that if you kind of pull this out a little bit, and if we look down in there, we can see that the clip is accessible right through this. So we're just giving a little bit of pressure like this. Our clip is right here. So we're using our screwdriver to just assist us in popping that down. It's mighty stubborn. But that's our clip right there. And then you'll finally get that to pop there, and we'll get it down to here. We're gonna once again head over to the other side to get this kind of angled edge popped, because that's a really difficult spot to kind of access those clips and get it popped. And we've got all the hard ones mostly removed here. From underneath, we should be able to get the rest of these center ones disconnected. I'm going to keep one hand here on the outside to brace it and hold it while I'm giving a little bit of outward pressure. And then here underneath, I'm going to pop out all these clips. There we go, we get the last one released. It'll slide out of there. We'll just gently bring it away from the vehicle and set it aside where it won't get damaged. Now that we've got that trim piece out of the way, that's going to reveal the bolts we need to remove here underneath. There's 4 that run along the bottom of our grill. We'll use a 10mm socket for these. Next, we're going to remove the grill. To remove that, each of the fasteners that we've taken out, the bolts there, there's kind of a little tiny tab that goes down to a little slot here on the brace. So you're just going to lift up a little bit and just kind of pull out. Do that for each one. Okay, there we go. And now the grill does have some more clips in it. There are kind of in the middle and here and here. It's almost like where the GM logo is, but these should just pull straight outward. So we're going to make sure we got all these top ones released, and then we're just going to give it a little outward tug. There we go. And now we'll set this aside where it won't get damaged. Next, we're going to be removing the bumper here at the front. So underneath, we have two stabilizer bars that attach to it. So we're going to remove the bolts that are connecting those two pieces together. They're way here on the outside. So this is the passenger side one we're going to take out here. We're going to use a 15mm socket to remove it. And we'll also remove the one in the same location over on the other side. And then if we head towards the center of our bumper here, slightly towards the passenger side, you're going to have a connector right there. We'll need to disconnect this, so we're going to pull out the lock tab first. Usually you get a little dirt on these and that gets pretty stiff, so I use a screwdriver. Then we can press in on the release tab here and disconnect the two connectors. Sometimes when they get real dirty, if you push them together first, it kind of breaks the dirt loose and it makes it easier to separate the two halves. Next, we're going to remove the bolts holding our bumper here on top. There's two on each side. There's one really easy to see right here up top. And then the other one you're going to find kind of a little bit towards the center. You see this guy right here. It goes straight down, and that's the other bolt. So on the other side, over on the driver's side there, you're going to have two in the same location mirrored over there. We'll remove these with an 18mm socket. I like to start with the outer one first. And get rid of this extension here. Need a little more power. And the reason I like to start with the outer ones, because this bumper's pretty heavy. So after I remove that one, just put just a thread or two in there. That'll just ensure that it can't like slide off of this when we're removing our bolts. These lower ones here I broke loose by hand. And now we're able to get these out. They're really not that tight, but you may need to break them loose by hand depending on the impacts or tools you're using. So now with an extra set of hands, we're just going to take out those little safety bolts we had in there. We're going to gently slide it straight out, just double checking for any wiring. Looks like we have a clip here that we missed that we'll need to unclip. So we're just going to slide it back in real fast. Grab our trim panel tool, or a pair of snips actually works really well. And we'll bring it back out a little bit. And here's that clip right there on that wiring we disconnected. We missed this little clip right here. So we're just gonna grab this with our pliers or our trim tool. Looks like we also missed it here at the bottom. And now we'll just set it aside where it won't get damaged. Next, we're going to start installing our base plate now. We've got everything out of the way. Our base plate's going to replace our tow hook here, so we're going to get this cover out of the way here and get our tow hook removed. The cover here is just held in place with these 3 bolts. We'll use a 15mm socket to remove them. Next, our tow hook has 2 bolts that holds it in place. There's one that goes all the way across. That's the forwardmost bolt. And then here on the inside, there's a smaller one that just threads right into a weld nut on the frame there. So we'll just zip these out. We'll use an 18mm socket and wrench to remove them. I like to take the nut off first. And we'll take off this rear bolt. And then that way the only thing left is our tow hook and the bolt that slides through it. We can just pull those out and set these aside. We'll now take our base plate and we're going to put it into position. So you want your tow hook attachment or your safety cable attachment to be towards the outside of the vehicle and also towards the top of your base plate, the sticker you want to be able to read on top. So this is the orientation we want it to be in for the driver's side here. We're then going to slide our base plate right into position, and it should support itself there with the weight that we've got. We're going to now take some red Loctite because we're going to be using this for all of the hardware that we're going to be installing. The piece that we had slid in, if we look up through the bottom here, there's actually a hole that will go straight up and it lines up with our base plate. You can see I'm actually kind of like tipping and tilting it there. So the largest bolt, as far as like the thickness, the thickest bolt in your kit, you're going to place a lock washer on it, followed by a large washer. We're going to put our Loctite on there. And then we're going to go up through the bottom and into our base plate. Next, we'll take the long bolts that come in our kit right here. We're going to put one of the collars on it here, slide that right over that. We want the little cutout here to be towards the top. It's going to clear on this brace bar right there. So this is the forwardmost bolt too. We'll then slide it from the outside of the vehicle through our hole there until it comes out the other side. On the other side, we're going to take our other collar, we're going to put that in place, take our Loctite, and then follow that up with a lock washer and a nut. Now the next thing I like to do is take one of the other long bolts that comes in your kit. We're just going to temporarily have this in position just for when we tighten down our bolts. We're just going to line up just the inside one here, take the bolt and just slide it through. That's just going to ensure that this, when we go to tighten this down, that this stays in the proper position. Over here on the opposite side, we're going to just kind of be eyeballing this because we're going to be drilling straight through our base plate to drill out the hole that's not here on the other side for our bolt to pass through. So you just kind of eyeballing that, getting it roughly in the position it needs to be in. Once we drill it, that'll straighten itself out. So now we can go ahead and snug these down so that way everything will kind of stay in position so we can drill out the holes that we need to attach the remaining fasteners. We tighten that down using a 24mm socket. You could also use a 15/16 socket. And then we'll tighten down the through bolt here using a 19mm socket or wrench. At this point now, I like to just double check this to make sure, hey, this bolt slides in and out nice and easy because we're going to need to be able to pass that through. Everything looks good there. So we'll have to drill out the remaining holes. You got the full pass through here we'll drill on the other side as well as this lower bolt. All right, now we're going to go ahead and drill out those holes. We're going to use a 17/32 drill bit to drill both of those. It's a bit of an odd size because it's a little bit bigger than a 1/2 inch, so it's not going to come in your standard drill bit sets usually. So you probably have to get this one by itself. We use a little bit of lubricant just to make it drill a little bit easier. And we're going to go from the inside straight through. Until we come out the other side. We can now take that bolt, the other long one, pass it through and attach it with the same hardware we did for the one right in front of it. Make sure that you put your Loctite on there as well. And we can snug this down after we drill this one out. So we're going to drill out that bottom one and so we can get the hardware installed there. We use that same size bit to do so. put some Loctite on this one. This is going to be the same diameter as your longer ones, so kind of easy to pick this one out. Well then, after sliding it through, we're going to take the square spacer that comes in your kit, put that over it, and then follow that up with a lock washer and a nut. We can then come back now and tighten down our remaining pieces of hardware here. We can now go back and torque our hardware to the specifications outlined in our instructions. Okay. And now that we've got all of our hardware torqued down for our driver's side, we're going to perform the exact same procedures over here on the passenger side to get this one installed. So now here we're back again. We've got our diode wiring and our supplemental braking system, all that stuff all installed there. We've got all the wires routed to the front. We do got a few more things we got to finish up here, particularly with those systems, since the bumper here is where we're going to be mounting a lot of those components, and there's not like a provided spot on the base plate. So we've got a component for our supplemental braking system. We've got our diode wiring connector here we're going to be mounting, as well as the breakaway switch for our supplemental braking system. For the base plate, the only thing you'll need to do is trim out the sections here for your tow hooks to allow it to fit, but you're more than likely going to have connectors and stuff like that for your braking systems to install as well. So we'll just show you how to do all of those. So first we'll go ahead and finish up the base plate here, and we'll cut out this section. We're just going to trim out what you see right in here. So we're just going to use our reciprocating blade to cut out the flat panel portion here. And then we can take a file and clean this up. Maybe you've got any spots that isn't very straight, you can go back and clean up as well. And we can clean up any rough edges and kind of straighten it out some with this file. I did leave a little bit of a lip around the outside too, just because it's a little bit easier to clean it up that way. And now with that one cleaned up, we're just going to repeat that same cutout over here on this side. Now with an extra set of hands, we'll take our bumper and we're going to put it back into position. And now we'll just tighten all of our hardware back down and reinstall everything in reverse order of how we removed it. And that completes our installation of Roadmaster's base plate on our 2018 GMC Sierra 1500.